Good morning, everyone. It's a good day to be alive. Morning, Gail, Rebecca, Sister Linda. Good morning, Miss Ranella. Good to see you. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the live show this morning. Here on the wake up call, we are getting busy this morning. We have a lot going on today, and the weather is starting to kind of kick up outside. A lot of thunder and lightning. Some, not a lot of rain yet, though, but some thunder and lightning. I need to do something right quick. There we go. There we go. That helped me right there. A lot of thunder and lightning, but no rain as of yet. Just a little sprinkle here and there. But anyways, it's going to be a great day. We need the rain, and so yeah, it's going to be a awesome day despite the weather. The weather outside is frightful, but oh, it's so delightful. And if you know a place to go, let it snow, let it snow, no, let's don't let it snow. I don't like snow. I don't like cold. I don't know if you like cold or not, but I don't like cold. Anyways, I've accomplished a lot over the past few days, few weeks. I am feeling good about the future, feeling good about a lot of things, and I'm so excited about some things that we are doing, and just trying to get back at it. This week has been a little bit of a challenge. After you take off a little bit, you kind of got to get your groove back on. That's for sure. Get your groove on. You might want to call somebody, tell them to watch the show, share the videos. If you don't know how to share, there's a little arrow. If you hit that arrow, it will share the video. And if you'll share the video, other people will see it and be blessed like you. So anyways, it's hard for me. I'm having a difficult time. See, the camera is directly in front of me, but I also have my software going right here, and I have a TV right there that shows my camera view. And so I have a tendency to look up and over the camera because of that instead of looking directly at the camera. I probably really don't need that right there. If I just focused in on this right here, I'd probably be better. But sometimes I notice things that I didn't notice before. So, yeah. Anyways, well, Christmas is fastly approaching. I hope some of y'all got your Christmas shopping done. I think I've got one thing bought. I'm going to try to get some of the other stuff today if I can. Linda's got me a list of stuff for the boys. And I have been saving up points. I probably have enough points on Amazon to pay for maybe half of everything. So, yeah, I started doing that points thing. That saved me. Last year, I bought almost all the boys' stuff with points I had. And yeah, who would have thunk that you could do that? But apparently, I buy so much that I get enough points to do this kind of stuff with. But anyway, so yeah, I'm excited about the holidays. Sister Linda and I sat up last night after I worked all day long. We sat up last night and uh, we we watched I don't know, two or three. How many was it, Linda? Two or three episodes of Jag together. I ate some peanuts and drank a Zevia, Dr. Zevia. Watched Jag together and all of that, and makes me want to be a lawyer. Tell you, getting there and arguing stuff in front of other people. Isn't that awesome? Anyways, well, this morning, I want to. Yesterday, if you watched yesterday, we talked about yesterday some of the. Let me see here. What a mentor can do for your life. What is having somebody to help coach you through things, mentor you, teach you? There's uh, a lot that can be said for that. And even like uh, in these morning shows like this, we teach the Word of God. We go over practical things as well about how to navigate things in your life, try to have other perspectives on as well, different things like that. And that really kind of falls under, and since so many of you come here every morning, your faith should be like really strong. Because that's what we preach and teach is a word of faith that's neither even in thy heart and thy mouth. That is the word of faith that we preach, Romans 10. And this morning, I'm going to share something kind of interesting before I get into what I'm going to talk about. I watched a video this morning that had to do with science and the power of words. And this was pretty interesting. So scientifically, what they did was they used water. They took water and they talked to the water. And so they would put a drop of water on a slide of glass, a slide, that goes under a microscope. And they would say things like to it like, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're excellent, you're great, you're beautiful water, all these, say some positive things. And then they would freeze it. And when they froze the water that they had said the really nice things to, the water would freeze in the shapes of like beautiful snowflakes. Now, this is amazing. They showed them talking to the water and then freezing the water, and they come out on the slide looking like a beautiful snowflake. But then they also had water on a slide that they said things to like, you're ugly, you're terrible, blah, blah, blah. Really negative things. And when they froze that water was discombobulated. It was all over the place. There was nothing beautiful about it. It was just like what they said to it. Now stop and think about that. How powerful is that? That was a powerful video and I've seen this happen. They've done this in an experiment I saw years ago where they put rice in two different jars, and they would go by and talk to the rice every day. To one jar of rice, they would say thank you. To the other jar of rice, they would say something negative like you're ugly or you're terrible or something like that. At the end of like a 6-week period of time, the jar of rice that they spoke kindly to fermented into a sweet drink, and the rice that they spoke harshly to, it became rancid and putrid and molded. Powerful stuff. I mean, stop and think about the power of your words to other people. What are they drawing? Are your words creating something beautiful, or are they creating something rancid and sick? What are they doing? Anyways, yeah, awesome stuff. So yeah, think about that for a day or two. If I can find that video, I'm going to post it on my Facebook. I may even create a video, one of those comment videos they do. Anyways, Yesterday, we talked about the power of having a coach or a mentor in your life. What do they bring to the table? How does it help you? And today, I want to talk about things that you can learn from setbacks and crisis that comes into your life. One of the things we talked about not too long ago, and let me go back up there, is how to quickly turn your setback into a comeback. How do you turn crisis moments into comeback moments in your life? We went over 4 things. One was to reframe the setback as an opportunity to learn and grow. Number 2 was to identify specific lessons or insights from the experience. Number 3 was create an action plan focused on your next steps. And 4 was to take immediate action on one small item from your plan. So we talked about basically reframing the crisis, the setback, what was in your life, what can you learn from it, what information can you compile from that will help you move forward in your life. So many people get stuck in their setbacks. They get stuck in their crisis. In relationships and things that go on where we have conflict and that sort of thing, the Bible calls that unforgiveness. And the Bible says that if we don't forgive, God can't forgive us. God doesn't hold us to a standard He doesn't live up to Himself. If we forgive, He forgives. If we can't forgive, He can't forgive. Why? Unforgiveness puts this block up between you and God. And the only way to take it down is to walk in forgiveness. So in our relationships, it's important that if we have conflict with somebody or somebody hurts our feelings or there's a situation, and this isn't about blame. We can play the blame game all day. We're not going to get anywhere. This is about releasing somebody. This is not a matter of who is right and wrong. Because there are people that I know of that are convinced they are right in a situation and the other person is wrong, and both of them have bitterness and unforgiveness. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Bitterness and unforgiveness will eat you up, and if you don't release it, then you're going to live with it, and that bitterness and unforgiveness is going to affect you in a whole lot of ways. I know of people who have bitterness and unforgiveness in their life, and it has directly affected their health, their ability to heal, their ability to be successful, their ability to think. It has affected all of it. Unforgiveness is like a dirty little cancer that just spreads real fast and grows real fast because unforgiveness begets unforgiveness. And unforgiveness starts with a real spirit of offense. So you got to guard against offense. Don't allow yourself to become offended. Don't allow the opportunity to be offended will come. It comes to me about every day. I'm joking, but it does. The opportunity to be offended comes regularly to most people. Somebody says something, does something you don't like, there's a chance to be offended. Well, don't be offended, because offense, the Greek words for offense over in the New Testament are there's 2 different ones. One is proskoma, the other one is spagad. And they both basically kind of mean the same thing, is that offense is the bait to a trap. It's that little piece of carrot that's hanging down on the box for the rabbit. It's not the box itself, it's the bait that gets the rabbit in the box and gets them trapped. That's what offense is. So you got to be careful, particularly in relationships, to not get offended. Most of the stuff we have, what is offense? Offense is the fear of preference being given to another. That's basically what it is. That is also the definition of racism. Racism has its root in the spirit of offense. That's why all these people that constantly keep racism stirred up in the country, They're being stirred up by an external spirit called the spirit of offense that is stirring them up and telling them, hey, somebody else has got it better than you, and it's not your fault, it's their fault. So you got to blame them. And so you have offense. So you got to guard against those things, because unforgiveness and offense, all of these things can bring unnecessary crisis, pain, and suffering in our life. And we've got to stop that. We've got to put a stop to it. Don't allow ourselves to become offended. We got to learn. So how do you do that? You do that by walking in love. So learn to walk the love walk. So how we talked about taking the things that come into our lives, and the crisis moments, the setback moments. We talked about what we need to do with them. So let's talk about some of the lessons you can learn from crisis events, setbacks in your life. These are all lessons I have learned myself. Now, I've got several of them down here, like 15 different things. I doubt we're going to get through all 15. Matter of fact, I'll probably end up making this a two-parter. So what are some of the events? What are some of the things, the lessons? What are some of the things that I can put in my arsenal that will help me in the future if I were to experience crisis or pain or something like that? What can I do? What do I learn from that? So get ready. Do you have a pen and a paper? If you haven't learned by now to write some things down, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. Get your pen and paper out. Get your phone, your notes out, something where you can type this stuff up and use it to come back to. Because I'm going to tell you, I come back to my notes, things I've written in my journals over and over and over again. Why is that? Because those are things God spoke to me, things that God gave me that helped me grow up and be better. And so I want to make those. It helps me to share them with people like you so that we can all benefit from them together. Lessons you learned can benefit me. Lessons I learned can benefit you. That's why I tell everybody, you've got a voice. Share your voice. Share about what's gone on in your life and how God has brought you out of things, because that can help. That's called a testimony. Testimony. How did they overcome? By the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. All right, here we go. Let's get into this morning. Setbacks, while challenging, are rich sources of learning and growth. So here are some valuable lessons you can gain from experiencing setbacks, crisis, roadblocks in your life. Here's some lessons you can learn. Number one, write this down. Number one lesson you can learn from, good morning, Miss Cynthia, God bless you. Number one lesson you can learn from the setbacks and the crisis you may face in your life is resilience. You can learn how to bounce back from adversity and develop mental toughness. Mental toughness. Recently, I was watching a video about the differences in the top athletes that are out there. What's the difference between somebody who is at the top of their game and somebody who is not necessarily at the top, but maybe even in the middle? Then they were particularly talking about tennis players. Now, I love tennis. I always have. I like to watch it. Some people don't like to watch. I love to watch it. And recent studies have shown that people who play paddle sports or racket sports outlive other people in other types of sports. And so I'm going to outlive a lot of people because I've been playing racket sports my whole life. And so they did a study between the top 5 players. They noticed that in the top 5 players in the world in the game of tennis, when you get to number 6, something happens. So they noticed that there was a drop-off. So they said simply this, that the difference between the top players in a sport, particularly in this study, it had to do with tennis, the top 5 players in tennis have a mental toughness and think differently than people who are 6-0. Stop and think about that. I don't know if you've ever played somebody. I always enjoyed playing somebody in a sport that was better than me. I always enjoyed it. I don't mind getting beat. Why? Because I'm learning, I'm seeing what those guys do differently than I'm doing. I don't mind getting beat. I remember one time when I was in high school, I think maybe I was a freshman, but when I was a freshman in Fairfield High School, I was the number one singles player on the tennis team. The first matches I played in high school was against a guy over in Mejia named Jones Ramsey. And when he came out to the court, he had the best of the best. He had the best rackets, the best clothes, the best tennis shoes, the best anything. And I thought, well, I wonder if this guy's just a wannabe, or is he really good? And people tell me he was good, but I thought, oh, in my mind, I'm going like, well, maybe good, but he ain't played me. Well, we get out there on the court, and I'm going to tell you, he crushed me like a bug. But he threw things at me I never seen before. Now, I could sit there and get upset about it. I could even quit. I could quit and go, man, this is not for me. If they got guys like this playing at this level, there's no way I'm going to succeed. But I didn't. I turned that crushing into a learning opportunity. And I learned from him. We became friends. We didn't live too far apart. Matter of fact, he just lived maybe a quarter mile or so from my grandparents there in Mejia. So I started asking questions. Okay, how'd you learn this? Tell me how you did this. Would you teach me? And he said, yeah, he was willing to show me what he did, how he did it, how he hit that ball like that, and that sort of thing. Now, here's the deal. He had a coach and I didn't. That's where I learned a long time ago that a coach can take you a lot of places. And the coach doesn't have to be as good or as talented as you are. His tennis coach couldn't beat him. But his tennis coach could see weaknesses and could see opportunities in his game that he needed to improve, and he kept improving him and improving him. I'm going to tell you something. If you're 25 and the coach is 55, he's not as near as agile as you are, right? It's not as agile. It may not have the speed, may not have the power. There comes a point where a student can technically beat the coach. But that doesn't mean, because here was the deal they learned in this study. It wasn't necessarily the technical execution of hitting the ball that made the top 5 better. It was their ability to think and persevere even when they were tired and their body was fatigued. It was their ability to be resilient. And some of them come back from really tough situations. You see, if you're experiencing crisis, pain, or you've experienced something, and if you haven't, you're going to at some point. So you should be going, John, thank you for this information, because I know at some point I'm going to experience a setback and I need to know what to do. Here it is. You need to learn to be resilient. You need to learn how to bounce back from the adversity and develop mental toughness. Now, I'm going to tell you something. My mental toughness, because of the way my brain works, I have extreme. And when I say extreme, my mental toughness is extreme. I may not be physically extreme, but my mental toughness is extreme. Because I have had to fight through situations where the crisis situations where the odds were against me. There was no hope, no way of getting out. And the natural that I could see, But mental toughness helped me to navigate through the pain, the crisis I was in. So be resilient. There's a lot more. I'm gonna hit the highlights of these because I could probably spend an hour on each one of these. Number one. So number one thing you need to do is a lesson you can learn from the crisis, the pain, setbacks in your life is to learn resilience. Learn how to bounce back. Don't think you can't bounce back. Don't think you can't recover because you can. You can. I have seen people over the years who have taken Johnny Erickson Tata. Young girl dives off of a thing, breaks her neck, and becomes a paraplegic or quadriplegic in a wheelchair. What'd she do? She turned her setback into a comeback. She turned a bad situation around and came back from it and has made tremendous impact on the world. This the guy that has no arms and legs, Nick, I think he said Vujicic or something along that line. Hey, Toby, in Jesus' love, hallelujah, all of y'all. Nick Vujicic, I think is how you say it. He was born with no arms and no legs, but look what impact he's had. He has turned situations around. He turned a bad situation, a situation he had no control over. He turned it into an opportunity. He developed mental toughness. He learned how to persevere. If you're going to make it through life, you've got to develop mental toughness. You've got to learn to be resilient in the middle of really negative situations. Number two lesson you can learn from setbacks, crisis moments, roadblocks, and that's self-awareness. You mean self-awareness? Yes, self-awareness. Here it is. The setbacks, the crisis moments of our life often reveal our strengths, our weaknesses, and our true priorities. Stop and think about that. I'm going to tell you something about crisis. Crisis will pull out of you what you really are. I know people who've got up and preached faith their whole life, and it was just in their head, not in their heart. When the real crisis came, they crumbled. But then I also know of people, Toby Waters knows this, they were faced with crisis like we were with their first child, Remington Waters. What a name. I love it. And Toby and Molly Waters, rather than quit, rather than give up, rather than throw in the towel, instead pressed in. They pushed forward. It revealed who they really were. They weren't just people who talked about faith, that talked about healing, that talked about miracles, but they became people that showed their faith, showed their belief in miracles and healing, and pressed into it in the middle of a really negative situation. Setbacks will reveal your strengths. It will reveal, listen, and I know there in my own life, crisis moments in my life have revealed my weaknesses. It's revealed my strengths, but it's revealed my weaknesses. It's revealed places I know I need to fix. And if I can't fix them, then now, a lot of times people spend a whole lot of time trying to fix weaknesses in their life when they need to focus really on making their strengths better. They asked a Chinese ping pong player one time, they said, how come you guys are so much better at ping pong than everybody else? And they said, well, we never work on our weaknesses. We only work on our strengths. Stop and think about that. A whole lot of people are constantly focused on their weakness rather than focusing on their strengths. But when your weakness is revealed, there's normally a strength in your life that can overcome that weakness. That's why the Apostle Paul said in the book of Galatians, he said, don't be weary in well-doing because you'll reap if you faint not. Then he said, my power is perfected. He said, God's power is perfected in our weakness. Power, even when we're weak, God's power is perfected. That word perfect there means to be matured. So when it says God's power is perfected in our weakness, it's simply saying God's power is perfected, is matured during our weakness. So when you're facing a crisis moment, don't worry about the weakness, but let God's power mature against that weakness, and you'll come out of it, grow out of it in the Lord. Self-awareness. Self-awareness. Number 3, write this one down. Crisis, setbacks, roadblocks in life can teach us problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills. There's a great book I recommend to people by Dr. Mike Murdock on Seeds of Wisdom on problem solving. It is a great book. I think everybody needs to learn systematic ways to solve problems. It is one of my strongest abilities is I know how to think through problems that people are facing or I'm facing. I can think through a problem. I know how to solve a problem. I have built businesses on solving other people's problems and doing it effectively, doing it easily and effectively, because I know a process. I have a process to solve problems. Problem-solving skills. Overcoming obstacles improves your ability to think creatively and to find solutions. Now then, if somebody came to you, if you're facing a financial situation, let's just say you need $50 or you're going to lose or you're going to get your water turned off. Well, you figure out a couple of ways. You might go borrow some money, do something like that. But if you were going to lose your house because you needed $10,000, you would think differently about trying to get $10,000 than you would $50. Problem-solving skills help you overcome obstacles and improve your ability to think creatively and find solutions. I'm going to tell you something. My back has been against the wall more than once. And God has given me the ability in the middle of crisis to think my way through things and to get ideas and concepts that help get me out of there. I thought about things differently than what I thought about them before. A lot of people don't do that. They'll just, I'm in a crisis, throw their hands up. I don't know what to do. They try everything else out there rather than think. See, one of the things that happened and you've heard, some of you have heard me say this before, is I never say I can't afford something. If I come up against something, I never say I can't afford it. I never can say I don't have enough. I always say, how can I afford it? And how do I get enough? Why is that? If I say I can't do something, I'm automatically throwing that thing in the bucket of defeat. But if I say I can, there is a way for me to find a way out of this. There's an idea, there's something that I could do that will get me out of this. All of a sudden, my thinking process has become different. And I begin to think my way out of that and take actions on what is coming to me, and I can come out of that situation. You think differently. You're more creative when you're under pressure. You're more creative. You think about things differently. Some of the best ideas I've ever had in my life came out of pressure. I was struggling along there in Lafayette, Louisiana, going from one project to the next project, barely getting by. And you want to talk about pressure? I was under pressure. Lots of pressure. But one idea in the middle of a crisis, when somebody, and I talked about this, when somebody said something to me that sparked my thinking, it was offensive what they said. I didn't let on that it was offensive what they said, but I took what they said and I used it as a weapon rather than as something to depress me or disgust me or hurt me. I used it as a weapon, and I took what this person said and I thought about it. I changed everything I was doing practically overnight, thought through the thing, and God gave me a breakthrough. Overcoming obstacles improves your ability to think creatively and find solutions that you could not normally find otherwise. Comfort, a lot of times, can become an enemy to us. Now, I like a little comfort from time to time. Who doesn't? We want to sit back and relax a little bit. Sometimes I need to do that. I need to sit back and go, okay, take a deep breath, rest a little bit. But sometimes, and a lot of times, comfort becomes an enemy to us. Why is that? It's because comfort, when I get to a place to where I don't have challenges or I'm not challenging myself to improve, you're going to wind up in a rut or in a place of defeat because you've gotten too comfortable. Discomfort makes us do things we wouldn't normally do. There are a lot of people who over the past 4 years have become uncomfortable under the present administration, and it moved them. Their uncomfortableness moved them to the polls to do things that they hadn't normally done. Some people haven't voted before. Other people wouldn't ever voted for Trump like they voted for him this time because of what? Being uncomfortable. Number 4. And I'm going to stop with number 4 because these things can get long. Number 4 thing you need to understand, I'll talk about the rest tomorrow in the next days or so. Setbacks, while challenging, can be rich sources of learning and growth. Here is a valuable lesson. Number 4, to turn your setback, your obstacle, your crisis into a comeback. Number 4 is the lesson you can learn is to become adaptable. Adaptable. You learn to adjust your plans and your expectations when things don't go as anticipated. Adaptable. Now, the Apostle Paul said something about this. He said over in 2 Corinthians chapter number 10, he said, I beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, and base among you, though absent and bold toward you. I want you to focus on the word gentleness right there, because you may say, what in the world does that have to do with anything? The word gentleness is not a good translation right there. That word, that particular Greek word that they translate gentleness there, actually means to become adaptable. Now, this makes more sense since the Apostle Paul said, I become all things to all men that by some means I can win them. Simply, the Apostle Paul says, I'm meek. The word meek there means to have an inner calmness toward God with an active hatred of sin. Then he says, I'm meek, but I'm also gentle. I've learned to become adaptable to the situations that I'm in. Because he goes on, Paul is answering criticism from people who are coming against him in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. He's answering criticism, people who are talking about his apostleship, that he's not really who he says he is. And they accused him of being a person who walks in the flesh and that sort of thing. And Paul says, listen, I'm meek and I'm adaptable. And then he uses the word base, and the King James uses the word base. It means to become, it actually just means ugly. I'm meek, gentle, and ugly. We know Paul was ugly because in 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 10, it says his letters say they are weighty and powerful. That phrase means put meat on the bones. But his bodily presence is weak and his speech is contemptible. It says not much to look at and his speech is boring. So the Apostle Paul's getting all kinds of warfare coming against him. But he says, I have learned to become adaptable. It does not matter what situation that I'm in. I'm going to find a way to use that situation to benefit me. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I know how to do this firsthand. I've had to do it. Some of you have done it too. You've been through things, And rather than let that thing lick you and keep you at home sitting in a corner sucking your thumb, you figure out a way to adapt to the situation and come out of it. Adaptability. Adjust your plans. I don't know about you, but I've had to adjust some plans. I've had to adjust some of my expectations. That doesn't mean I diminish my plans or I diminish my expectations. I just adjust them for the current set of circumstances. But I still have plans and expectations that are above the crisis that I'm facing. I just need to make adjustments in order to get there. It's kind of like you're going down the road. All of a sudden, you come up on an accident. It's a bad accident. The fire trucks, the ambulance, the DPS is all in the road, and there's no way to get around it. And then somebody comes out with one of them detour signs and says, go this way to get around the accident. Sometimes we have things that come up in our life that are beyond our control. Situations that are beyond our control. Maybe your air conditioner went out. Maybe your car battery died. Something happened and it detoured you. The detour doesn't mean that you're not going to get to the destination. It means that you have to adapt and adjust your plans and expectations to get to where you're going. And that's okay. Just keep the destination in mind. Hallelujah. That's 4 things right there. 4 things. And I've got like 15. So I got 11 more to go through here. So, hallelujah. You can come out of any crisis situation. Take these 4 things we talked about. Number 1, in the middle of a crisis, learn to be resilient. Number 2, become self-aware. What are your strengths, weaknesses, true priorities? It's going to reveal it. Number 3, you'll learn problem-solving skills. Number 4, learn to be adaptable. We got some others to come. 1's humility, patience, emotional management. These are some tough things for some of us sometimes, but you can learn those things. Be ready. We're going to talk about some more of this tomorrow. How do you make it through crisis? What lessons can you learn? How do you adapt? How do you move forward in those things? God bless you. We love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 7:30. God bless you. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.